Hey, okay, so we're gonna do a different kind of bread today. It's called Hokkaido milk bread. It's a Japanese style bread, so it's new, different than not new. It's been around for a long time, but different than what we do. It's very similar to the white dough we make in class, but it has a step, a first step, and it's called Tongju roux. It's basically you take hot water and you blend it with flour to make a paste. And they're calling it a roux. I mean, normally a roux is something we would use to make soup or gravy, and it would be fat cooked out with flour and then incorporated into a soup or a stew or a gravy, and it would be used as a thickener. This is using hot water and flour, and it basically cooks out some of the flour because the water is hot, and the flour is is able to soak up a lot of water. That's something we do with bread anyway, called autolyse, when the bread is soaking up, or the flour is soaking up liquid in a bread dough. Sometimes I mention that. So this now has to sit for several hours actually before we start using it. So it's going to sit aside. In the meantime, I've got the ingredients scaled out except for the milk, sugar, salt, yeast, butter. I'm using the all-purpose flour we use at school, and so in order to make that stronger, I'm adding 25 grams of vital wheat gluten. It just makes the protein content of our flour way stronger. Anyway, so what we'll do is we'll blend all the liquid ingredients, then we'll blend all the dry ingredients, and then we put it in the mixer and mix it. And then we slowly, while it's mixing, we add the Tongju roux. Sort of like when you add butter at the end of brioche, I guess. So I made one last night. I just used a bit of whole wheat flour. It's a nice loaf of bread. I did another one earlier in the week that I gave to my kids, and they loved it. So we'll be mixing this up and shaping it in a little while. Okay, so here we are. Our all-purpose flour, our vital wheat gluten, our yeast, our salt, our sugar. And remember our 12 stages of bread making, scaling ingredients, then mixing ingredients. And the reason we mix the yeast, flour, salt, and sugar together first is to protect the yeast from the salt and the sugar. Our liquids, that's just our butter and our milk. These are going to go in the mixer. And this will go in the mixer. Dough hook. Have I complained about all the dishes? Alright, so we're going to let this mix for a little bit and then add our roux. Okay, so we got a nice dough there now. The Tongju is here. And again, we add it in chunks. Okay, so here's our dough. It's fermented and been punched down. It's nice and warm and soft. I'm just going to weigh it. 968 grams. So 450, 495. Yeah, that's pretty close. Okay, so we're just going to round these, and this seems to be the way they like to be shaped. This particular loaf wants to be 2 pieces. I've seen people do it in 4. Okay, so that's gonna now sit in my kitchen and proof. It'll take a little while, quite a while. I don't have a proofer here, obviously, so, and then we'll bake it and check it out when it comes into the oven. All right, there's our our butt bread. I think next time I will bake it into 4 separate loaves so it doesn't look like a butt. Anyway, it's going to be delicious. So I'm going to pop that out of the oven and I'll show it to you when it comes out. Okay, so lovely loaf of bread there. Apparently this bread's really good for as French toast. I'm sure it would be. Anyway, so there you go. So it's Japanese milk bread, and enjoy the quiz and the information. Okay, so that's mixing really nicely. Got a nice dough there. Pull it out of the bowl. Give it a little bit of a knead by hand. It's only enough dough in that recipe to make 1 loaf. Very nice. So I'm going to put that in a bowl that I've rubbed with a little bit of butter and let it ferment. And when we come back, we'll shape it and proof it, then get it in the oven.